Thank you, President. My question is for the Minister for Training and Skills, through the Attorney representing the Minister for Police. I have become aware of a deficiency in the sex offender register, and it's not just that the register is not public. It seems that there is no power of entry without a warrant for a sexual offender case manager to enter premises or to search and seize if there is a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity occurring, including a registered sex offender concealing images on a mobile phone. Presently, police can apply for a search warrant through the Magistrates Court, but these take time. Section 459 of the Crimes Act allows for entry, but only if a crime is being committed at that time, and again, there is substantial evidence that needs to be gathered. This is ineffective if a pedophile decides to throw the phone out, hide the computers or otherwise destroy evidence. Minister, will your government investigate implementing these additional powers of entry and search and seizure powers for convicted child sex offenders whilst they remain on the register?
Minister.
Thank you, President. I thank Mr Grimley for his question, which I pass on to Minister Teeny, which will pass on to Minister Carbines in relation to the warrant requirements in relation to the sex offender register. But one of the issues that you raise is also something that VicPol have raised with me in relation to warrants and digital images and the things like that. So there is a bit of a conversation going around about this more broadly across both my portfolio and Mr Carbine's portfolios, which we might be able to provide you a bit of a joint response in relation to that.
Mr Grimley on a supplementary.
President, thanks, Attorney. I appreciate that. If you're driving and you get pulled over and there is a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, you can have your car searched, which could potentially be conducted by a police officer of low rank. The subject of a firearm prohibition order can be searched or have their house searched if reasonably required to determine if they are possessing a gun or similar. So why is it that convicted child sex offenders, Class 1 and 2 perpetrators on the register, cannot have their computers, phones or homes searched without warrant, if there is a reasonable suspicion of a crime being committed? I've heard of, in one instance, a case manager had intel about a sex offender accessing child abuse material on his phone, and there wasn't enough evidence for a warrant, and when the perpetrator died, they found he'd been accessing the material for years. I could quote a number of other instances where suspicion has later deemed to be a reality. So, Minister, why is there a double standard in our laws in this aspect when it comes to police powers of entry and search and seizure?
Mr Grimley for his question and his advocacy in this space, and the behaviour you describe is obviously abhorrent and something that we always want to respond to appropriately. So in relation to the specifics of your question, I'll pass that on to ultimately Minister Carbines.